Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dairy Raid and the first morning walk and talk of the 2025 season, or I guess the first morning walk and talk during the 2025 season. Coming off of week one where the defense impressed, at least those who have the capability of being impressed by Wisconsin football. The offense did not, as we all collectively skipped a heartbeat when yet again another quarterback went down with injury. But we move forward into week two, and I asked you good people for some questions, got some good ones, and let's just get into it, taking a look at questions going into week two of the 2025 season. All right, and the first question I've got is more of a housekeeping thing, but it's one that I have gotten a couple times so far after my videos have released so far this season. And that is, am I going to be doing breakdowns on the offense? Well, yes, that is the plan. That is the goal. That is, if you want to even say that, the heart and the root of the channel is doing breakdowns of the offense, because that's my side of the ball. Unfortunately, my new source of All 22 film has been able to produce dozens of dozens of games all over the country. And the one game and the one side of the ball that it could not produce was the Badgers offense versus Miami of Ohio. So it is what it is. I have been assured that it will be there eventually, and that the rest of the season should not have any issues. So if I do get the Miami offensive film at some point, we will break it down. But hopefully going forward, we'll be getting the rest of the season, and we will be able to do the same level of breakdown detail that we did with the defense from Miami, Ohio week. All right, so let's get into some questions about that game. And one question that we have here is, as I mentioned in my breakdown, the Badgers used a lot of a 3-down look, but using 2-4 personnel. So they were putting what we would consider, or what Matt Mitchell, I guess, would consider an outside linebacker on the line, either as a pseudo defensive end, or in many cases as a defensive tackle, ending up in a 3-tech. And the question comes up, well, we did that last year to no success, especially against teams like Iowa. Why should we expect something different even after the success that we've had this last week against Miami of Ohio? Well, two things. First, you can already see a difference in the fundamentals of those players who are playing in those positions. Daryl Peterson in particular, he spent a lot of time working in that interior spot. And you can see he's gotten stronger, gotten bigger, and is more fundamentally sound in the task that he is being asked to perform. On top of it as well, as you can see by the depth and the versatility of the players around the front seven, this defensive front that we saw predominantly against Miami of Ohio will not be the prominent defensive front that we will see against a team like Iowa, a team like Michigan, because we have the position versatility and we have the depth at different spots that we can put specific players or in specific packages that fit the the offense that we're playing against. Now, I know you're asking right now, yelling at the screen right now, saying, well, why didn't we do that last year? Last year we couldn't. Last year, a lot of times, it came down to we have to put our best 11 on the field, because the best 11 to play the defensive front that fit the offense best couldn't handle it, was not good enough, and especially on the defensive line, where we had underachievers and lack of depth. And I'll keep screaming it. For a team that was built to run the 3-4-2-4 defense, we surely did not have the players to run that system. And I'll die on the hill saying that we'd have the same problems against those teams no matter who the defensive coordinator was last year. But I digress. The defense is much better prepared to deploy essentially an entirely new defense every week if required. This week, it was all about speed. It was all about matching up and containing an athletic quarterback like Dequan Finn. They did that. And part of that success was the defensive alignment and sticking true to the system. I also think that running stuff like we did against Miami of Ohio is much more in the wheelhouse of Luke Fickell and Mike Tressel. You know, the first 2 years we essentially ran Jim Leonard's defense. It stopped working because the Big Ten is different than it was even 2-3 years ago. So now, with the system that you can see they have in place, it is going to be better suited for a larger and more diverse offensive Big Ten. All right, next question. And the question is, even though it's after week 1, is there a position group that you can point to that has improved, or at least it makes you less worried than you were, say, in the offseason, in the preseason, whatever? And yeah, and I would say that would be the cornerbacks, so specifically the corners opposite of Ricardo Hallman. You know, we were worried who was going to fill that boundary corner spot, the spot held by Nizer Forkery in the last couple of years. And I think, based on the play that we saw on Thursday, week 1, that one, I think they got a couple players who, between the two of them, are going to hold down the fort in Deani Hill and Amelia Agard. That's the first thing. 2, I think they are going to be able to scheme to put those players in the best position for success. Seeing against Miami, I think they are both physical corners, rangy corners, who maybe man-to-man coverage might not be their strong suit right now. Again, we didn't see many opportunities. They got man-to-man, but they weren't pressed that much. But in running different coverages, whether it's cover 4, cover 6, palms, whatever, they were able to put them in a position where they could be effective in the passing game and then be assets in the run game. That is something that, for any defensive coach, is a plus. If you can get any kind of contribution from your cornerbacks in the run fit, you are on the right track to having a solid defense. And I think we saw that from Deani Hill and Amelia Agard. Deani Hill did a great job getting up into the run fit, making his reads, and becoming an asset. Amelia Agard showed some nice pop for a corner, made some good open field tackles, and I think our corners are going to be positives there, because you know that defenses are going to try to target away from Rico, which they did. Miami did. They didn't. I don't think they went at him once. At least tested him anyways. The pass defense setup is greatly improved so far, and I can see the pathway there going forward. Again, it's week 1, not a huge sample size, so I'm not going to make any declarative statements. But to the trained eye, you can see a positive way forward for the cornerbacks and the defensive backs in general. Okay, next up, let's talk a little bit about the offense. Again, we don't have the film in front of us, but I did watch the broadcast angle, so I can give at least a solid opinion on what the offense said. And the first question was, basically, why were Jones and Dupree primarily used as an A and B gap runner, and we didn't test outside very much? Okay, that's a good question. I mean, you see clips from camp and stuff like that. You see them running tosses, see them running speed options and stuff like that. And I think that's going to be part of the offense. I think the game plan changed once Billy Edwards went out there went out, excuse me. So I think they maybe went a little bit vanilla with the run game after that point. So that's one thing. Two, we were having issues with the left tackle. And we weren't able to get outside how we wanted to, maybe on a toss that way. That's a small part of it. But three, the reason why Dylan Jones and Dylan Jones and Darian Dupree spent most of their day in the A and B gaps is because that's what Miami's defense decided that they were willing to give up. They were worried about the speed of Dylan Jones and Darian Dupree. So they were a little bit more focused on setting the edges. But that's a very small part of it. The big part of it is that's just how the gaps opened up. That's what the wide zone is. The wide zone is you sell this wide look. You sell the offensive lineman running to the sidelines to get the defense to over pursue, to get the defense to focus on setting the edge, to where your running back puts his foot in the ground and gets north-south. And if you watch any team who runs wide zone consistently, the majority of the time when the play hits big, it's hitting up the B gap or cutting back to the backside A gap. So as much as we want to believe that the wide zone or outside zone are outside run plays, that's a misnomer. We're setting the defense up outside. We're setting the defense up wide. But we're creating a wall and we're cutting behind it. I think Vince Lombardi would be very happy seeing a scheme like this because we're setting up a wall and we're running the ball in the alley. So I wouldn't think too hard about our inability to get outside. If that's going to be part of the game plan going forward, it will be. But again, you show teams that you're committed to running B gap to B gap, and they are going to have to adjust, and that's when you can bust them outside. Get one or two on the edge, really changes the course of an offensive run game. All right, and next question, and I like this one. This is a coaching teaching point type of question, and it basically came down to the question author asked is he noticed a couple times when they were running RPOs that it seemed like Joe Brunner, Jake Renfro were getting close to being too far downfield on what essentially turned into a passing play. How do offensive line coaches and offensive coordinators teach offensive line technique when it comes to RPOs to ensure that they don't go too far downfield? That's an excellent question. Now, first things first, let's make sure that we establish what the rule is in terms of men downfield in college rules. The NCAA rules are blockers can be no more than 3 yards downfield before the ball is in the air. Once the ball is in the air, you can go anywhere. So, that is a key point to establish. Another key point to establish is as long as any part of your body is behind that 3-yard line, when the ball is thrown, you are behind the line of scrimmage. So, you drag that toe behind that 3-yard line, you're good to go. And then by the time the ball gets to the receiver, you could be out in front of him. Now, I will say, and this is to defensive coaches' chagrin, that it is extremely rare that over the course of a well-timed RPO that there's any chance that these offensive linemen are going to get too far downfield. What happens is usually when an offensive lineman gets too far downfield, it is because of the backfield action and the quarterback's read. So what do we teach the offensive line to do in an RPO? Play your position. Do your job. Go through your footwork. The only thing that changes for me in my system when we are running an RPO, when we tag an RPO on a run play. We'll give you an example here. Let's say I'm running my outside zone. I'm running 25. Okay, that's going to be an outside zone to the left. In that case, my entire offensive line is outside zoning to the left, and we are leaving the backside defensive end, edge rusher, free. He will be the read. If we tag an RPO, for example, in my case, we call it Duke. Duke would mean our slot receiver is running a seam over the inside linebacker. When the offensive line hears a tag, that just means we need to block everybody on the line of scrimmage, and then the linebacker that we would have been double teaming or climbing to, he becomes the new read man. So we would make sure everyone on the line of scrimmage is blocked, and then we would read the second level. So if we get a situation where we get called for illegal man downfield, that's because the play took too long. So, O-lineman, do your job. Go through your footwork, trust your footwork, and trust that your quarterback, your running back, and your receivers are in time so that when they release the ball, you're where you're supposed to be. All right, and next up, and this will probably be the last one we're going to do here because we're on the home stretch back home, is now that we are going to have Danny O'Neil as quarterback for the foreseeable future. I think at least until Maryland. How does this change the offense? What would I do differently with Danny O'Neil? And what does the offense look like going forward? I think one thing that we should be okay with is Danny O'Neil and Hunter Simmons have gotten reps with the ones throughout fall camp. They got reps with the ones in the spring. They've worked out with those players in all the times in between. So there's not going to be a lack of comfort for Danny when he takes over at quarterback. Another positive thing, I think, is Danny O'Neil reminds me a little bit of a mobile, smaller, more mobile version of Bart Houston. He's got a little bit of that gunslinger in him. You know, he's famously said in interviews recently that he's got a chip on his shoulder. I like that kind of attitude in a quarterback. That means he is going to try to make plays. And for everything bad that Braden Locke did in his time here, and he wasn't as bad as you people think he was. Again, look at the numbers. He's no worse than Alex Hornibrook. He's no worse than Joel Stave. Anyways, but what Braden Locke did was he relied too much on what he was taught, and he didn't have that playmaker mentality. He made some great plays, but he wasn't a playmaker. Danny O'Neil, for better or for worse, is going to be a playmaker. He is going to make some spectacular plays over these next 3 or 4 weeks. He's going to make some spectacularly dumb plays over the next 3 or 4 weeks. But for me, he's the type of quarterback I want because I know at least he's going to try and at least he's going to push forward. What's going to be the difference in the offense? Well, they're obviously going to cater to his skill set. So, Billy Edwards was a mobile pocket passer. He was a pocket passer who had the ability to get out on the edge, be involved in the run game. I would say Danny O'Neil is a mobile quarterback with a capable arm. He can make the throws that we need. More importantly, he can make the throws that fit within what the offense can scheme up for him. So, are we going to have less 10-yard outs and 15-yard comebacks, deep shots, hard to the sideline, probably. But he's got enough of a downfield arm that on quick play action, up the fade, up the seam, up the post, he's going to be able to get those throws off. Where he's going to excel is in the QB run game, the RPO game, and everything that's building off of the motions and the shifts. He's going to be a lot like Jalen Daniels was last year at Kansas, hopefully with slightly better passing numbers. So I think there's enough pieces within the system that they don't have to dramatically change what they want to do, but there's enough pieces that can be added and tweaked and modified that can really accentuate what Danny O'Neil can do, because this is going to be the direction that the offense is moving. After Billy Edwards, you got Danny O'Neil is probably going to be the starter next year. Carter Smith is another similar athlete first, traditional QB second, still QB, but not in the traditional sense. So we're going to be getting a jumpstart preview of the 2026 and beyond Badgers offense after this week, or this coming week, and going forward with Danny O'Neil. All right, and I think we're going to start wrapping it up here. I want to take a second to thank everybody who has subscribed, both here on the YouTube channel and the audio forums that you're hearing this as well, but also the Substack. I really haven't publicized it, and it's even been brought to my attention that I did a pretty bad job of even putting the link out there of where to subscribe to the Substack. We have gained a ton of new subscribers, and humbly have gained a large number of paid subscribers, which I thank you guys so much. I'm not going to sell what I do. I'm not even going to tell you the price. Go look at it. If it's what you think it is okay for you, go for it. But what it's doing is it's showing me that there is a platform for me to do the type of videos, do the type of content that I like without having to worry about the YouTube algorithm, which is telling me, obviously, videos need to be shorter. Videos need to be more to the point. Videos need to be more broad topic. Substack is where we go to get nerdy, where we put up 90 minutes worth of breakdown film of the Badgers defense. So if that's your kind of thing and you like the nerdy side, I welcome you to join Substack. There's going to be plenty of free stuff going up on there as well. It's going to be let this guy hate how my neighbors drive. Anyways, there's going to be plenty of free stuff up there. It's where I put all the links to everything that I do. So go ahead and check it out there. And every penny that comes in through support for the Dairy Raid is going towards improving the Dairy Raid. It's going towards hopefully getting me to a Badger game this fall. I'm eyeing the Washington game in November. We're well on our way. So again, thank you for those of you who have subscribed. Thank you for those of you who watch these, who listen to these. You make a person like me who occupies a niche within the niche of Badger football content feel like that there's a place. So I appreciate that. And with that, I think we're going to call it a day. And next time we talk will be after the Middle Tennessee State game. Let's hope it's a good one. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.